This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed Business News, Australia's best business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer and good morning, Adam Lang.
Good morning, Sean.
Our weekend show is all about the two of us. Well, normally it's actually Michael and I, but this week, last week, next week, it's Adam and I, each nominating what we think is the biggest story of the week, the most remarkable story, the sleeper story, and our favourite story. Michael, of course, is on holidays. Michael who is how I think about him, Adam. Michael who. Adam's in the hot seat. We need to judge. Who better than our favourite almost Fear and Greeder, definitely Capital Brief star, Jennifer Duke. Morning, Jen.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, something I'm worried about, which I heard just before we came on the show, you're an anti-daylight saver.
Yes, I am. It screws up my sleep for a whole week. So for the sake of being selfish on behalf of everyone else, I think we should get rid of it.
Well, I'm sure that you can be totally impartial. Now, last time you were judge and I was involved, I lost. I'm just telling you that. So just keep that in mind. Not that I'm trying to heavy you or anything, but...
Make me feel guilty already.
Oh, absolutely. Let's jump into it. The biggest story of the week. Adam, you okay if I go first?
Oh, yes, please.
Because this is a massive story. Huge story. The biggest story of the week is what happened at the US Federal Reserve. Huge. Absolutely nothing happened. Yep. Nothing happened on interest rates. That sent share markets higher, bond yields lower, the Aussie dollar went up 1 US cent, even helped the cryptocurrency leader Bitcoin. It jumped beyond 35,000 US dollars a union. Everyone in the whole world, everyone, even my mother. I mean, my mum, she's nearly 92. She's talking interest rates. There's no doubt about it. And she is in where she lives in the aged care facility, fantastic spot in Orange, Central West New South Wales. They're all talking interest rates without a doubt. They're waiting for interest rates to peak. Given that nothing happened this week, Fed watchers reckon the world's most important central bank, by leaving rates on hold for 2 months in a row, and based on commentary in recent weeks, is probably at the end of the interest rate cycle. That changes the whole outlook for investing. Australia started about 6 months later than the US. We'll finish the upward cycle later, possibly after next week, if the Reserve Bank lifts the cash rate again. This new info over the past couple of months, really, is that interest rates are going to stay higher for longer. We know that, but we weren't sure when the cycle was going to end. Now, we can't say with certainty that the US Fed won't lift rates again, but that seems to be the gist of what people think. It means we're going to head to a more normal economic cycle. Sort of pre-GFC, economic cycles were fairly normal. You had monetary and fiscal policy working together, doing their stuff. Post-GFC, the government's very scared to spend any money because they found themselves in lots of debt in 2007, so they haven't spent anything. It meant that monetary policies had to do all this work. We've had interest rates at zero or below zero in some cases, Japan, places like that. Now we're getting back into this sort of new paradigm, which is like the old paradigm. And this week, the fact that the Fed did nothing signals that we're there. So, biggest story of the week is that absolutely nothing happened at the Fed.
I have to take exception to how you say monetary policy, Sean.
Oh, really?
Can you say it for me, please?
Monetary policy.
You say monetary policy. And I was like, how do you say money out of interest?
Money.
Money.
How do you say? I say honey. You know when you have it on your toast in the morning?
Yeah,
Honey.
Well, I got Super Mario Bros. On one of our recordings and haven't lived it down ever since. So
That's right. Actually, you're right. It is monetary. It's not monetary policy.
No, but I love it. It's very distinctive.
Aylmerism. All right, Sean, I'll take your Fed nothing and raise you geopolitics for my nomination for biggest story of the week. Last week, our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's charm offensive to the USA worked the angles and the personalities to secure our trade, defence and strategic partnership with the biggest economy in the world. And today, 50 years after Gough Whitlam's first visit, the Prime Minister commandeers the Royal Australian Air Force's Boeing business jet for Shanghai and Beijing on a quest to build our relationship with the second biggest economy in the world, China. It'll be the first time an Australian leader has travelled to China since Malcolm Turnbull's trip 7 years ago, and we've seen positive signs recently. In October, detained Australian journalist Chung Lee returned to Australia And China has agreed to review hefty tariffs on Australian wine. We're hopeful that tariffs on lobster and beef can fall too. The 3-day visit will focus on developing cultural links, trade, and stability in the relationship. And this is the real nub of it. As Joe Biden encouraged Anthony Albanese to trust but verify the Chinese-Australian relationship, we have the highest tension in geopolitics this century. The Russian invasion of Ukraine continues, while conflict between Hamas and Israel in Gaza is fracturing relationships well beyond those borders. Australia is not a global superpower. We need strong relationships around the world to protect our people and secure our economic interests. Albanese representing Australia in a time of geopolitical delicacy. Big game, big story. What do you reckon, Jen?
Oh, this one's interesting. So geopolitics is definitely a huge story, but I would say that's been a massive story for several weeks now. And as much as I don't like it when people have a story where nothing has happened, this nothing is actually a really important nothing, and for the economy and for what the RBA might do and for everyone who's kind of on tenterhooks for next week. So, Sean, you're going to win this round.
Oh, Jen, you're back in my good books. You haven't been in my good books for a while, ever since I lost the last time you were judge. However, you have just shown your capability, style, et cetera, once again. Very happy with that.
I got beaten by nothing.
Yeah. And now Jen and I worked together at the Fin Review, so I'm sure Jen would remember the whole idea that you could never write a story about nothing, so nothing happened. Well, anyway, broken that up. Let's move on to the most remarkable story. Adam, you go first on this one.
All right, my most remarkable nomination this week is house prices in Australia, as this week we saw data prove it again.
Sorry, just having a yawn. Go on.
This week we saw the data prove it again, even amongst the challenges of higher interest rates.
Hold on. Saw the data prove it again. I believe you even used the word again, but go on.
Enough of the heckling, thank you. Even amongst the challenges of higher interest rates, increasing fuel prices, soaring energy costs, and the rising costs of living, house prices are tracking to be up nearly 10% this year. Why? Higher population growth through immigration and a lack of supply. Net immigration last financial year was around 500,000 people, more than double forecasts. And that is a lot of people needing somewhere to live. At the same time, the construction market has slowed and high rents are pushing more people into buying homes. Australian Bureau of Statistics data this week showed that new home loans rose 0.6% in August, which was better than expected, and investors led the way. If you own your own home, you'll be feeling great comfort from the rising prices of houses and apartments. If you're an investor, you'll be feeling pretty good too. But if you rent and try to save enough for a deposit, that dream is getting harder and harder to chase. And the most remarkable part, we still do not have a plan across our Federation of States, Territories and Local Councils that addresses the supply challenge. AMP's Shane Oliver estimates there will be an undersupply of about 190,000 homes by the middle of next year, which will keep pressure on prices well into the future. Remarkable. Sean?
Okay, Jen. Jen, can we have some penalty points here?
What, for interjecting into Adam's story, Sean?
Oh, that wasn't quite how I was thinking of it. That wasn't quite how I was taking it.
What do you want penalty points for?
Come on, there are some stories. Normally, it's economics. It's sort of banned economics because economics is always the top story, and if I get to go first, I take it. So, like, we're banned. I think housing is almost. Anyway, actually, I better have a remarkable story because otherwise, Adam's going to win the category, and then I'm in trouble. My most remarkable story is the battle for Origin Energy, and there's a bit of a history in this one between Adam and I, Jen. Just for the record. Adam knows, he's laughing. What's remarkable is that Brookfield and EIG Partners have upped their bid for Origin Energy to $9.53 a share, pushing the total value close to $20 billion. They declared it a final bid, or declared the bid final is the wording that is used, which means they can't come back with another offer. What did the share price do at that $9.53 a share offer? It fell. It fell 6% to $8.47. That's a long way below 9.53. So why would the share price fall when the bidder, which already has the competition regulators okay, has the boards okay, why would it fall when the bidder ups its offer? The answer, because investors aren't so sure the offer's enough to convince shareholders to agree to the bid. Major shareholder AusSuper owns about 14% of Origin. It's already knocked back the deal, saying it isn't enough. It doesn't want to back the bid. The offer price of $9.53 is 8% above the previous offer. It's about 70% above where Origin's share price was a year ago when this thing kicked off. It's also at the upper end of the independent expert's valuation. Now, it's unclear if the bidders will get 75% of the votes needed at the November 23 vote. Some major shareholders have indicated they're likely to accept the offer. Alan Gray, big fund manager, it said it will vote for the deal. This on-market takeover is going to be a close-run thing, and it truly is remarkable that they can offer $9.53 a share and the share price can fall 6% to $8.47 a share. Very, very strange. Gets slightly better. The consortium has hinted if defeated, they could return with an off-market bid. What that actually means, rather than an on-market bid, an off-market bid is where buyers go directly to shareholders and ask to buy their stakes. In that instance, not all the shareholders might get that $9.53 a share, or some shareholders could be left with parts of the business but absolutely no bargaining power. It is quite a remarkable battle. There you go, Jen. Over to you.
Oh, this is a toughie because I think the Origin one is a pretty remarkable story, but I think Adam has gone straight to my heart with a housing story. And I think right up until about halfway through that, I was pretty sure that you were going to lose Adam. And then you kind of gave us that remarkable combination of the reason that we haven't gotten to the point where we're fixing this issue at all, the fact that the state, federal and local government, all of our beloved councils, haven't been coming to the party with any proper solutions. That to me is incredibly remarkable that we're still in this situation, still talking about it. So I'm giving you this point.
Yes, Jen, bring on the reform.
Housing reform. We're all here for it.
Yes.
I have absolutely nothing to say to that decision.
You're not a sore loser, are you, Sean?
I'm a sore loser. I'm a sore winner. The history to it, right, is a few weeks back when the ACCC agreed to the Origin deal. Michael said it was the most remarkable story, and I had some other cracking remarkable story. And Adam said, no, I agree, the Origin. And I'm like, how can that be the most remarkable story? The deal isn't even done.
Housing just gets me.
We're going to have to remember that next time. Okay, 1-1 at the half-time break. We'll be back in a moment with the sleeper story and our favourite story of the week. Okay, back with the sleeper story after... Well, I mean, I think actually I'm up 2-0 morally. So 1-1 on the scoreboard.
You're questioning my morality as a judge. This is interesting.
I'm questioning your judgment, definitely. I'm not sure about your morality, but definitely you have. You know, when you think you're in trouble, attack the judge. That's just how it works in this show. Look, let's go into the sleeper story of the week. I actually found it a bit hard this week to find a good sleeper story. I think where I've come down, and it is in this week, but only just in this week, Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, has been accused of misleading the public about the risks of using social media and contributing to a mental health crisis among the young. Claims were made in a federal lawsuit in the US. 33 attorney generals are party to it. They say the company used addictive features to ensnare users while concealing the substantial dangers of its platforms. Meta said it's in response. It just said it was disappointed. I've got the BBC to thank for this story, though it has been around the place. The reason this is a sleeper is that no matter what the outcome of this court case, 33 states are involved. The breadth of the case will make social media platforms think again about what they're doing. If the Attorney Generals win, it's a big if, but if they do, well, that's a whole new ballgame for social media platforms. The lawsuit says Meta has broken consumer protection laws by engaging in deceptive conduct. Social media companies, including Meta, have contributed to a national youth mental health crisis, and they must be held accountable. That's what the New York Attorney General Letitia James said. A spokesperson for Meta said the company shared the commitment of the Attorney Generals to providing teens with safe, positive experiences online and had already introduced over 30 tools to support teens and their families. Meta and other social media companies already face hundreds of lawsuits in the US filed by families, individual families, young people, school districts, etc., over the impact of mental health. This one is by far the biggest action to date, and really does have the possibility of having far-reaching implications for these social media platforms. It follows an investigation into the company's practices a couple of years ago by several state prosecutors after a whistleblower testified that the company actually knew its products could harm children. This still has a long way to run, but I think no matter what the outcome, social media platforms are going to have to change their behaviour. And if they lose, well, that is a different ballgame. A great sleeper story. Though, given Jen's efforts in that last category, I have no idea what she thinks of this one. So, not meaning to be dismissive.
I'm going to hold my cards close to my chest.
I actually think it's a cracking story, Sean. And yours is, let's just say yours is in the virtual world. Mine is in the actual physical world. So we'll see how we go. Australia might be working out a way to catch up on the global green energy transition.
Oh, no. We all know Jen lives in the sticks and kind of loves nature. And
Sean, this is a concern for everybody, not just Jen.
But we only care about Jen today, Adam, let's be honest.
So this week, Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers committed to more incentives in next May's budget to ensure Australia reaches net zero emissions in 2050. As you reported this week, Sean, we're being told that this is not an attempt to outbid the United States with the hundreds of billions of dollars of incentives being made available through their Inflation Reduction Act. But Jim Chalmers has released a consultation paper on the government's detailed sustainable finance strategy to improve transparency and credibility. We're being told to expect 6 sector decarbonisation plans for the economy. They'll cover energy, industry, agriculture, transport, resources, and the built environment, and that is to map out an efficient and transformative path to net zero. The 4 initial policy areas include critical minerals, manufacturing, low-cost energy, and greens metals. And Chalmers also said the Productivity Commission will lift its focus on skills, the gig economy, and energy transformation. Jen, we know we have a target of net zero emissions in 2050. We also know that the scale of change required from energy production to storage and distribution is immense. We know too that we've not yet created the plan to get there. So Jim Chalmers' consultation paper on the government's detailed sustainable finance strategy could be the most critical building block yet to help Australia reach net zero by 2050. And that is why this is my nomination for Sleeper Story of the Week.
Gosh, this is a tough one because both of these issues are actually very, very close to my heart because there is a reason that I don't use a lot of social media, and that is because I think in general it is toxic for people's mental health.
I'm back in the game. So
that is an issue that I really, really care about. But so is the energy transition. And yes, we should all care about it, not just me and the stick. So I'm actually going to give you guys a tie for this one because I feel like the energy story is a sleeper, but it is also getting a lot of coverage, but it is going to be massive.
So I'm putting a protest in. What is sleeperish about the energy story? Honestly, it's a big story, so I'm not arguing that, right?
Well, when I was doing the weekend editions, Adam had some very interesting thoughts on whether or not consultation papers and new papers count as kind of stories that have happened yet, because I feel like we may have used one as a bigger story, and he said, but nothing's happened. So I think that makes it slippery.
Yeah, good point. And what I love about this story is that we haven't even had the consultation, so it's ultra sleepy because the consultation paper's still to come out.
It's a comatose sleeper story.
That's right.
But yes, you can both have a point, I think, for this category.
It's even, Sean.
Oh, my God. House prices won. I can't believe that. Anyway, I'm not holding on to it. I'm not. Let's move on to our favourite stories. Adam, why don't you go first this time and see if you can find another one of Jen's pet loves. Go on.
Jennifer, have you ever thought of the Australian Securities and Investments Commission as cyber superheroes?
Oh. You have either nailed it, Adam, or failed. Lost it totally. Yeah, one or the other.
So this week, my favourite.
No. I want to know whether Jen has ever thought of the Australian Securities Investments Commission, ASIC, those crazy guys in Canberra, as cyber superheroes.
As an actual cape-wearing superhero?
Yes, please.
Marvel style.
Marvel Avengers style. No, I haven't, but I'm open-minded.
Excellent.
So this week, my favourite moment was the high praise earned by the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. Why? Well, the Australian Cyber Security Centre registered a staggering 76,000 cybercrime reports in 2022. And due to the shame of being scammed, that number may be conservative. Last year, the Albanese government launched a 3-week trial to combat internet fraud and malicious websites. We know that there are evildoers around the world seeking to prey upon Australians as they live their best cyber life.
Oh, very Marvel, very DC. I'm liking this.
Yeah.
Because remember, Jen, Adam's allowed to get points for melodrama. And when it comes to Adamski, he's not the most melodramatic guy in the room.
Not my strong suit.
Not like Michael. So he needs extra points for the melodrama here.
Yeah, in my head, there's theme music playing as I say this.
Yeah.
The damage can be financially crippling and emotionally stressful. Following the trial, the Albanese government has launched a takedown service, which ASIC Deputy Chair Sarah Court said removes or limits access to fraudulent and malicious websites. Since July this year, ASIC has disrupted scam activity, shutting down more than 2,100 investment scam and phishing websites, and is in the process of closing 400 more. As Sarah Court puts it, this equates to removing 20 dodgy websites a day. In the fight against the international tide of cybercrime, ASIC are now armed with superpowers to keep us cyber safer. No doubt we have a long way to go to combat cyber evil, but this, Jennifer, is a win and my favourite story of the week. Go the internet safety superheroes. Go ASIC.
I'm almost happy to concede on that effort from Adamski. That was spectacularly melodramatic for a man who likes spreadsheets.
I'm loving the good evil dynamic there.
Yeah, the cyber safer stuff. How do you spell that? CYBERSAFER?
Yeah, all one word, Sean, all one word.
Anyway, I'm happy to concede, but I do have such a good story. I do need to tell you about it. Tell me, Jen, you know when you're on a Zoom call, Teams meeting, and it ends, you there in the sticks, and it ends, do you wave or not?
No. Are you meant to? I know I feel like I've been rude to lots of people on Zoom calls.
Yeah. So what I learned about myself this week is that the Zoom wave is a real thing.
Are you a Zoom waver, Sean?
I am. And I didn't ever realize that until I saw this story this week. And I always just put my hand up and just sort of give it a quick sort of wave. I'm doing it right now, as you can see here, Jen, waving my hand at you. Like it's ridiculous. But 55% of the population on a Teams call or a Zoom call or a virtual meeting or whatever, they wave at the end of it. Now, if one person waves, most other people tend to follow suit. Experts in human behaviour and communication have argued that the Zoom wave emerged during the pandemic because people needed to recreate the social connections that they had when they're physically in the same office. So the Zoom wave became a thing. Alternatively, so I like the fact that these experts in human behaviour said, alternatively, it's a way to signal the meeting's over, or maybe people are just being polite. And that's how I like to think of myself. I'm just sort of, to be honest, I must say, when the meeting's over, that's when I tend to do it. It's like my signal. Anyway, 55% of workers are still doing it. It's down a little bit from last year, but peak COVID, about 75% of us were doing the Zoom wave. Now, it's something called motor resonance is the key reason for people waving. Basically, when one person does it, everyone follows, which studies also show that we're more likely to be empathetic and cooperative toward people when we've synchronized movements, like we're mirroring each other, hence the wave. Anyway, it's my favourite story because I learned something about myself this week. I'm a Zoom waver, and now I feel like an idiot for doing it, but I won't be able to stop myself.
I actually feel like the Zoom wave is fascinating. Like I am not someone who will initiate the wave, but I think you're right. If someone else waves at me, you can't not wave back because then you really are being a bit rude, right? So you're probably responsible for all of us waving.
You know what we should do next Zoom meeting? Just start waving in the middle of it.
See what happens. There we go.
Yeah, not wait till the end. And in fact, so when you're at Capital Brief there, right, and you guys are around the country, and John McDouling, the great John McDouling, your editor, he starts talking in the middle of his chat, right? Just start waving.
See if we can shorten some of the meetings.
Are you waving to say goodbye? The great thing about John, he's such a lovely individual. He would wave back without a doubt. Like, I don't think he'd start, John, because he's kind of shy. But I tell you what, if you waved, he's waving back at you, don't you reckon?
That is true. But I feel like if you do it in the middle of the meeting, you completely reverse that politeness culture and it actually becomes very rude. So it's all about timing.
Oh, but funny. Sometimes
True.
rudeness is worth taking. Yeah. Anyway, which story?
You know, I love the Zoom wave because I think it is hilarious. But gosh, the melodrama gets Adam an extra point in that category. So I think he wins and just about wins out by 1 point for this one.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to go with the melodrama of Adam Lang.
Now, anytime I meet people from ASIC, I have to imagine them in the full Superman get-up.
Yeah, choose your own theme music in the background, playing
right.
as you meet them, Jen.
Undies with cape.
It's not great. It's not a great look.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, mate.
That's my pleasure.
Jen, I don't really want to say too much here, but it seems that I'm 0 from 2 with you. Clearly, we're going to have a different guest judge next week. Jen, thank you very much for coming. How's Capital Brief going?
Very good. Very good. We're all very happy. People should come and have a read with some interesting stuff going on. Lots of different types of journalism. So I hope you guys are enjoying it.
Very much.
Yeah, I am. I mean, you've got some great journalists. You as number one, definitely.
Oh, that's sweet.
But you do have some really, really good journalists on the site. So definitely worth having a look. Jen, thank you for joining us today. And maybe we'll see you again, maybe not.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jen.
Adam, thank you as always. You, I feel like, Fonzie. Henry Winkler's been all over the place at the moment. And I don't know why. He just seems to be on TV a lot, Henry Winkler, Fonz. And he could never say lost. You lost.
Or sorry.
Or sorry, was that what it was?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah. Well, Adam, you just Thank you, Adam.
Thank you kindly, Sean.
Make sure you're following the podcast. Join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, and Facebook. I'm Sean Aylmer, and hopefully next week things will turn out better. That was Fearing Good Business News. Have a great weekend.